we would do that.
Yeah.
And then what happened was when we started his production company, he needed acts.
Yes.
And then so he said, man, you got to find an act.
Right.
So I went to Baltimore and found Pockets.
All right, I remember Pockets. That was your group.
That was my group.
Yeah, right.
Because Reese had to fulfill the contract.
Yes.
So he had
a certain amount of acts you had
to Columbia, right? So we had to. Larry had to do acts.
Yeah.
Philip had an act.
Yeah.
So we was doing everything at once.
Right.
And so what happened was, Reese was producing us, and all in all, that's kind of like where we all grew up.
Wow.
We became men then.
So you were no longer just musicians following direction.
Right.
In a creative way, you were following direction.
Right,
But now you guys, and all, you're all basically like 6 or 7 producers.
Right.
In a band together.
Exactly. And it actually took the burden off with Reese because we understood where he was coming from.
Right. Right.
And
because of all those years of following his direction.
Right. And seeing he didn't really have time to tell us nothing no more.
Okay.
Because don't forget now, he was up here as a producer.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he was in demand as a producer himself.
Right.
So we had to get in there with all in all.
Right.
And we had to. It was a hard record to make.
Really.
But a great record to make.
You recorded it here in Los Angeles?
Yeah, it's at Hollywood Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that period, I don't think we slept for like 3 or 4 years because we went from All in All, Greatest Hits Volume 1,
Mm-hmm.
with Gratitude.
Yes.
All in All, Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Yes.
Got to Get You in My Life.
Yes.
I Am.
This was like the Earth, Wind and Fire explosion.
All of it. And we were growing consciously too.
Mm-hmm.
And our sound was growing,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, in terms of where the music was going. Like I tell people, I think from 1970 to 1979, we those succession of records, nobody has ever made a succession of records that quality
Mm-hmm.
for that long.
For that long.
And no African American group.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't stay together long enough.
Right. Most groups couldn't sustain the unity, right?
Right.
What about Gratitude, man? I'm sorry to go back an album.
That's okay.
But Gratitude, which is one of the most incredible live albums, and it really caught, in my opinion, the essence of Earth, Wind and Fire.
Right,
because
right.
you all just weren't studio guys. I mean,
Right.
you guys had one identity in the studio, which was mind-blowing. But then when you all hit the stage, there are a lot of bands who are great in the studio, and then they hit the stage, and there's something missing.
Well, don't forget now, we were performers.
Yes.
And also too, what we were doing, we were taking acting classes.
Mm.
I took Stella Adler's acting class.
You did?
Yeah, we took dance classes.
Really? Was this something that Reese, said you guys have to do, or is this just something that you guys wanted to do?
He added that to the program.
Oh, he did?
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
we would work on all the skills.
Wow.
Even now, man. So our biggest teachers was Stepney, Reese, George Faison.
The choreographer.
Choreographer.
Yeah.
So George was the one that's got us together.
Really?
And so we would rehearse do 2 rehearsals with him. 1 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
take an afternoon break, take a nap, then we'd work on the show at night.
Really?
While Reese was mixing all in all.
Really?
Because we were getting ready for the big tube show.
Because you guys knew that this was going to be something special.
That's
All
right.
in All tour.
Right. When you met me when you were 12,
Yeah.
we were doing the tube show.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The big tubes that came down?
Yes.
So we rehearsed that show, man, for like 6 months.
Really?
And that was the show that added on to
Mm-hmm.
All in All.
Yes. And you're so when, man, there's so much I want to ask you about, man. Sorry to go
okay.
on,
It's good.
but okay. So whose idea was the magic? Because you guys, your show became a mind-blowing experience. People. I remember not being old enough to go to one concert, and people just came off the F train in New York after you all played Madison Square Garden. I was standing there at the exit, man. Man, those guys were incredible, man. The bass player just ran off the stage and then flew halfway through the audience and came back. So, where did all this come from, man?
Well, we started thinking about it. Flying through the air. I said, Reese, I'm gonna fly through the air. and we got the same guy that did Peter Pan, Bob, did Mary Martin Peter Pan, worked with us, the first one.
Okay, what's his name, Bob?
Bob Dickman.
Okay.
He's passed away. So we got Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started progressing.
Yes.
Really progressing. And it was when we got with Doug Henny that it
Right.
went to the next level.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? Where
Yeah,
it really went to, and it all coincided with the All in All album.
Yes.
Star Wars.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And that live show.
Right.
And then that's when George Faison came in and Reese and I went to New York, saw the Wiz, hung out with George. Matter of fact, the picture in my den,
Yes.
that's with George and Nick and George gave me that. So we really honed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really working on the choreography and
Oh my goodness.
and all that stuff. And then at our concerts, the Jacksons would be at our concerts.
Yeah.
On the front row. And Michael went and got Doug Henning later for his show.
Really? So you inspired Mike?
Yeah, Mike went, he went and got Doug Henning, but really it was a groundbreaking show.
Tell me how you guys managed to keep music at the forefront, even as you guys became stars and you started adding magic and all this stuff. If you listen to the Gratitude album, everything is amazing, but the musicianship is top quality. Don Myrick on the saxophone, the solo he plays on Reasons, which is just unbelievable. You're playing on the bass. Larry Dunn, trying to recreate what you're all done in the studio.
Right, and could do it.
And he could do it, yeah. I mean, and the drumming, it was just an incredible. You guys never lost sight that you were a band. You know, a lot of bands, once they got success, and the lead singer would start to split off, and it became more about singing. But you guys always managed to remain a band. How did you do that?
Well, first of all, I think because Maurice and I being brothers,
right,
that helped. I think Larry and Philip and Andrew coming from Denver.
Right. So there was a family unit there.
Right. Phoenix Horns, Don Myrick from Chicago.
Right.
And don't forget Don Myrick and Reese and Sat, they all went to college together.
Oh, okay.
See, they went in a group together in college.
I see.
They had a group called the Jasmine.
The Jasmine.
Yeah.
Right.
And they won this festival, the Harvest Moon Festival in Chicago at the stadium.
Yeah.
Because my mother and father went.
Wow.
And the star was Eddie Fisher.
Right.
And they were the college cats, and they won first prize.
Really?
And the piano player with them was Jack DeJohnette.
That's right. He started off as a piano player.
That's right.
The great jazz drummer Jack DeJohnette.
And he was their piano player. So I think because everybody knew each other before Earth, Wind and Fire,
right,
we still knew each other after we got there.
Got it.
Because when you know each other, man, you can kind of talk to each other.
Yeah, you can be real with folks.
Right, and don't forget now, we were pretty much sequestered off all the time. We were kind of in our own Earth and Fire world.
Yeah.
Nobody could get in.
Did anybody ever, from record companies or management, try to influence your direction musically?
Not at all, man. It was Reese, he was so strong.
Yeah.
And his records were so good.
People were smart enough to just leave well enough.
They wouldn't even think about bombing Reese. You know what I'm saying? They would call him and say, so like, what do you want to do?
Right. Wow.
You know what I mean? Reese sometimes would miss release dates. That's the only thing to the label. Because he wasn't ready yet.
Right, right.
You know what I'm talking about?
The creative process sometimes it takes
longer. But we knew we'd always have to drop in the fall though.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? We couldn't miss that fall release date. You know what I mean? We could skip that summer.
Yeah.
But that fall we had to be ready.
Why is that? Because everybody's returning to school? What's
right, you're going to school.
Okay.
You got the fourth quarter.
Yes.
You got Thanksgiving, Christmas.
People want to give gifts.
Right.
Nothing was better than the Earth, Wind and Fire album at Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was when, don't forget, we had record stores.
Sure.
So people were bombarding record stores.
Right.
You know, coming out of there with all that vinyl.
Right.
Particularly at the holidays.
Yeah.
Because what happens, we would see our albums like the Tower Records, particularly whatever album was hot at the time, like when the Eagles, Hotel California, they'd be right in the front.
Yeah.
We were right there. I remember when All in All came out.
I remember that up on Tower Records.
Right. It was us and Stevie.
Yeah. Well, just for those of you again who don't live in California and LA, there was a really famous, probably the most famous Tower Records store on Sunset Boulevard, right there on Sunset Strip. Right. And they would get these amazing artists to recreate album covers, and they would display them on the front wall. So as you drove on Sunset, you would see Stevie Wonder's face, huge. Right. And I remember the All in All album along with Stevie Wonder, which was fantastic. How did it feel driving down Sunset and seeing that, man?
Well, it was great because it was there, and I went in, and I called Reese from the phone booth because it used to be a phone booth.
Right.
We got no sales in, right? And I said, I'm going to go see if he said, man, check to see if the album's in there.
Yes.
I'm going to be,
you used to do that. You used to go in the store and make sure the albums were in the bins.
Because the new record, the release was always in the front.
Yes.
Particularly if they were selling.
Right.
And so ours was right there, and he said, who's next to it? and I said, Stevie Wonder's next. He said, okay, cool, okay.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, and don't forget now, the record industry it was so flourishing.
Yeah, it was booming. Yeah,
it was booming. It was people don't understand that labels were shipping. I think we shipped out 2 million. The
Give me
first day.
some numbers. Give me some Earth, Wind and Fire sale numbers from that period.
We did 9 double platinum records in a row.
Wow. Which was the first one?
That's the way of the world.
That's the way the world.
Yeah, we have been creeping up.
Mm-hmm.
The Warner's records did like 50, 40,000.
Yeah.
The first Last Days and Times record with Columbia we did 350,000.
Which was a big step. Yeah.
Then we did 500,000 on Head to the Sky.
Yes.
550,000
Yeah.
on Open Our Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we knew we had to make a leap.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we didn't, we probably would stay there.
Right.
And we went from 500,000 to 2 million.
Mm.
And
That's the way of the world.
That's where the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the big breakthrough record.
Sure.
And number one on the charts for 3 weeks.
Now, usually I don't bother with sales numbers
Mm-hmm.
because that's it could be for any number of reasons. But the fact that you all were so musically creative
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time this popular,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of unprecedented. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys had a kalimba, an African thumb piano,
Right.
on a record that sold 2 million copies.
Right.
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 I mean, you guys had Brazilian influenced songs.
Right.
You guys had all sorts of stuff.
Right.
But somehow you all managed to make it appealing to everyone. Man.
Well, I think because it was music friendly.
Mhm.
It wasn't so over, the solos weren't so long
Right.
that you didn't dig them. And don't forget, I think, we came from the Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
and hearing gospel,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, it was we were a little bit more commercial.
Right, because you guys coming from hearing gospel, you always have to connect to the audience. There's no
Right.
way around that.
Right.
That's the whole
Right.
purpose of that music.
And because it was on Open Our Eyes, the title song was called Open Our Eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and that was from a theme show
Mm-hmm.
that Purvis Spann did,
Okay.
the Blues Man.
Okay.
That was his closing,
Oh, really?
theme song.
So I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was a gospel song. And then Stephanie told Reese, man, we should cut that song.
Wow.
Because remember Frankie Crocker in New York had There I Go, There I
There I
Go.
Go, There I Go.
Every disc jockey always had
Their theme
a
song.
theme song. And good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Thanks
exactly.
Thank you for coming.
Sign off.
Sign off,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a disc jockey, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a Frankie,
yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
My special guest is Verdine White from Earth, Wind and Fire. We're sitting here talking about the incredible, unbelievable journey of this band. Verdine's older brother Maurice unfortunately passed a few days ago, and I don't even think it's really sunk in for all of us
Right.
that he's not here. But man, he left such a legacy, man, and I'm so glad to be able to talk to you, man, who you were there from the beginning. Tell me a couple of your most special moments with Earth, Wind and Fire.
Wow. It's been a lot of them, man.
I'm sure, yeah.
Well, I think the first, having those first big records,
Yeah.
that was really cool.
No matter what anybody says, nothing like having a hit record.
Nothing, because what happens is it's hard to have a hit record.
Yeah.
You don't get a hit record because you just think you just want to get one.
Right.
There's a lot of factors.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
sometimes with hits, man, after a while it ain't even your record no more.
Doesn't belong to you anymore.
It's like a magical thing.
Mhm.
And the ones you think that's a hit is never a hit, and the one that ain't a hit is the biggest thing.
Tell me one hit of Earth, Wind and Fire that surprised you.
September.
Nice song, great song.
Great song.
I'm sure you liked it.
Yeah.
But you had no idea that in 2015, 2016, they'd be playing it at the Chicago Bulls,
Right.
at the Warriors game.
Exactly, man. What happened was we had been cutting all those other records.
Yeah.
And don't forget now, we were hit.
Right.
And so when Allie had brought September with John
Allie
Willis.
She's a songwriter. Yes.
Right. I brought Allie to Maurice.
Okay.
Because he needed a lyric writer.
Right.
And I was working on the Pockets record.
Yes.
And I needed a lyric somebody. And so she helped me with the lyric.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you might want to meet Maurice.
Right.
And
I know she must have loved that.
Yeah, and she thought I wasn't gonna call her back.
Mhm.
And so about 3 days later, Maurice called her. This is Maurice White.
Yeah.
And then they started working on the I Am record. And September was in the Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Yeah.
Because we needed to tie, we weren't ready for another record.
Right. So sometimes when you need to tie it over, you put out a greatest hits and maybe add one or two
That's
new
right.
songs.
But you always did Greatest Hits when you were on your way out.
Okay. Yeah.
right? Because that was the end, you know what I mean?
Right.
But Reese called it Volume 1.
Volume 1.
That means
we're not done.
that means there'll be some more volumes.
Yes.
And what happened was September. They played it on a Friday night at the office, Bob played it.
Yeah.
And everybody was tired. Everybody didn't get it.
Right.
Everybody didn't get it. That's David Foster on piano too, right,
really?
on September.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because he was starting to work with us. Because
Okay.
he was going from there
To After the Love Is Gone?
right, and we were headed to I Am.
Okay, got it.
See, every record that Maurice always did, we were always, after we got done, we were always headed to the next record.
Mm-hmm.
So David came in and we were headed to the I Am land.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we said, man, then Bob woke up and said, it's a smash.
The song September, even if you didn't like it when you first heard it,
Right.
you'd wake up the next morning and it's in your head.
And
right?
Bob, he dug it, and what happened, he called Reese from the phone booth, Culver City, and said, pal, it's a smash.
Really?
And CBS ate that record up. And Philip will tell you to this day, he didn't like it.
Really?
He thought it was too mammy-pammy.
Yeah, it's kind of popular, yeah.
Because, we were coming off
Y'all were Earth, Wind, and Fire.
right, we were coming off,
Yeah.
running.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? We were coming from, we started wearing goatees.
Yeah.
We started talking a little slower. you know what I mean? Let's get deep with it. You know what I'm talking about?
And September was exactly the opposite.
Right, and Reese had already been deep.
Yes.
So we were like 10 years behind his
Right.
deepness. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, give me another one, man. Another surprise for you. I mean,
I thought that's the way of the world, because it was like, it didn't sound, it sounded like angels.
Right.
It didn't sound like us.
right.
It didn't sound like the way we recorded it.
Yes. Oh, really?
It was like, wow.
Yeah.
And it was bigger than us.
Yeah. Did you? What was your first reaction? It sounds like you guys cut it, and you cut it with with your rhythm section.
Right.
And it had a certain sound, maybe a little grittiness to it.
Right.
And when you heard it again, the way it was
it
mixed,
was
because it had
beautiful.
beautiful reverb on it.
It
and
was
that,
beautiful. It was beautiful. And
So you were surprised.
I was surprised how beautiful that it sounded.
Mm-hmm. What about Reese's his ad libs on that, man? It sounded like, man, he found himself in a space.
Oh yeah, he was that space with Reese between That's Where the World I Am.
Yeah.
He was in a space. Because all he would do, go to bed, get up, go to the studio, go to bed. And then he would always call me when he got to a certain point.
Yeah.
What you doing, man? I said, I'm at the crib. He said, come on, man, I want to play you some stuff. And when I heard him do like, yow.
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that,
What was your reaction when he started, ow, he started singing like that?
I said, man, he went somewhere else because there was debate that Sugarfoot had done it first.
Sugarfoot from Ohio Players, yeah.
And but Reese might have heard it, but he definitely took it musical.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And see, and with Ohio Players and all of them, the musicality was lesser than ours.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sugar, they were great. Sugar,
they were great. Yeah.
And so that was that. And then don't forget now, when Volume 1 came,
Mm-hmm.
that was the red cover
Yes.
with the gold emblem.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Commodores did the same cover.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. And put it on Sunset Boulevard when they used to advertise albums.
Right.
Like that.
Really?
Yeah, the Commodores were more Motown's answer to Earth, Wind and Fire.
Got it.
They had a lot of hits. Musically,
Right.
they were different. But one of the things that was happening in LA, the studio musicians, there was a lot of those groups that weren't playing on those records.
Oh, okay. So even though you saw the band's picture on the album,
Right.
what you were hearing on the studio albums
Right.
was studio music.
That's right. We were the first group to play, write it, produce it, perform it.
Okay, here's a beat.
Right.
I was a studio musician in New York, 15, 20 years. I can't tell you how many songs for different artists I recorded with that feeling. You know what I mean? With the drummer playing that high.
Right.
That was your beat, okay?
Right.
That was Earth, Wind, and Fire, and it just found its way into the language of American music.
Right.
How does that feel when something that, you just described, how you guys would just jam in the studio, just spend hours just experimenting, and something that you guys just came up on becomes part of the American fabric. What does that feel like?
Well, it was just a natural feel, man. Reese had that natural thing, man.
Yeah.
And so he would maybe just put something in the song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he said, "Oh, we're gonna try." Dun, dun,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dun, you know
Yeah, those
what I'm talking
accents,
about?
yeah.
Those are accents. You know what I'm saying? And just holding that groove down.
I can't tell you how many albums I played on where, you know, they had the Earth, Wind, and Fire accents.
Right.
You know what I mean? You guys influence music so much, and I just wonder, what does it feel like? You go, oh yeah, that's our hit, so that's our
No,
beat.
it was serious, and don't forget now, man. You know, Bob Cavallo was a big part of that.
He's your manager at the time.
Yeah, at the time, and Bob was always with us on that stuff. He'd come back and listen, and Bob had great ears, man.
Okay.
And so he was like, he said, "I like that, pal," and he would talk to Maurice about it.
Yeah.
That, you know, and Bob always knew how to hear a hit. When he heard China Star,
Yeah.
he said, "That's your first #1 record, pal."
Really?
Yeah.
It's really important to have somebody with normal ears.
Right.
Right? Instead of musician ears.
And then see, and when we were doing the from Open Our Eyes
Yeah.
on, Clive had left and Walter Yetnikoff had taken over.
Okay.
And so Bob knew how to handle Walter. Because
Okay.
Walter wasn't like a musician.
Right.
You know, Walter's an executive.
He's an exec.
So
Okay.
so Bob would tell him, this is how we're just gonna do it. He said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we negotiated we've had three or four big multi-million dollar record deals. And then we renegotiated on the all in all, big multi-million dollar deal. It was great.
Right.
And what happened was, Bob, to show you how they was doing it then, Bob had the deal points on a napkin.
Yeah.
You know, what we're gonna get, big advances, all that stuff. And then Walter had his on a napkin. You know what I'm talking about?
We're talking about millions of dollars,
Right.
all negotiated on
Because
that.
things were moving fast,
Yeah.
and they had to get the deal done, and,
Yeah.
and Reese was like saying, "We gotta get this deal done."
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Or
Right.
we're gonna go to Warner's or something.
Yeah.
And they weren't thinking about losing us.
Yeah, they weren't gonna lose you.
But Bob knew how to handle Walter, and Walter was very, you know, cool, artist friendly, because he wasn't a musician. So he said, "Okay, if you guys know what you're doing, just call me when it's done."
Wow.
I mean, so it was for a person like me. Yeah, you know, I saw a great cast of characters. You know what I'm saying?
Verdine White is my special guest here on Miller Time. My name is Marcus Miller. You know what? I came to your house, man. It's a Saturday afternoon, and I promised I was going to only take 45 minutes. I'm so past the 45 minutes right
We'll do another 5. Huh? Then we'll eat.
But, okay, what I want to ask you now is about Earth, Wind, and Fire today, because there are a lot of bands and they're who started when you got started. Well, let me rephrase that. The only bands who are around who started when you started are basically nostalgia bands. You know what I mean? They do, old school concerts. You know, you guys are still selling out venues. You guys still play with the energy, you know, that you guys played with. So the first thing I want to talk about is your energy, Verdine White, because you are famous for your energy. You know what I mean? And you, it hasn't flagged. You know what I mean? You still are playing with the same energy. I don't know how you move around and keep those bass lines as tight as you do. But is that natural, or have you